PSG beat Real Madrid 4-0. The new money have gubbed the old money. There is no doubt about it. Right now, David, Florentino Perez is seething. He is fuming. This is Sir Alex Ferguson levels of those bloody noisy neighbours. I know Paris and Madrid aren't neighbours, but you get the picture. What did you make of this?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. It was a continuation of what we've seen from PSG this season. Still this season, technically, little had changed from what they have shown everybody in the Champions League and such. And it was like they continued on from the incredible performance in the final. They just played their game. They stuck to what they know. They didn't change anything up. They didn't think, we're facing Real Madrid, we better keep it tight at the back, lads. But no, they just went straight out, and it was fantastic. It really was, playing some of the best football we've seen in a long, long time, I think, at any level of football.
Yeah, you mentioned that Champions League final. In their last 7 games, PSG have beaten into 5-0 in that Champions League final. They've been Atletico Madrid 4-0, Bayern 2-0, and now Real Madrid 4-0, among a few other results. I think they've only conceded 1 goal in that time. People may say, yeah, but it's just the Club World Cup. They're playing big sides, and not only are they beating them, they're taking them apart. I mean, Real Madrid looked... If you blurred the faces and the kit, you'd think, this is aside from a country whose league I'm not into, I don't really watch, and clearly a far inferior opponent. Because, my goodness, Kylian Mbappé, Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, just to mention those 3, they looked so ordinary against them. And I understand, David, that the heat and the long season and da-da-da-da-da, but it was more down to PSG just absolutely schooling them.
Yeah, absolutely. They overawed Real Madrid from the first minute. I think it's very difficult for any team to live with PSG in any conditions. So, throw in the heat here. But look, I don't think it came down to the conditions. I just think it is simply the fact that Real Madrid are at a certain place under Xabi Alonso. Everything's very new. And there was a switch in formation here. And then PSG are well further down the line, and they're over there, they're tweaking, and they're, figuring out what their system is. They know who they are now. They have the clearest identity that they have ever had since QSI came into the club.
We're talking about how good PSG have been in this tournament and how good they were against Real Madrid. Madrid didn't have to give them 2 goals, though, did they? I mean, look, PSG would have won this game at a canter, but bloody hellfire. The 2 opening goals. I mean, the 4th one is just symptomatic of that stage of the game and the scoreline. But the first 2 goals that Ruiz and Dembele scored, my goodness, it was piss poor. I mean, again, PSG, I know that they can force team into errors and they can put the willies up people and so on, but come on, that was seriously bad stuff from Real Madrid.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was just amateur stuff, basically. It's not what you'd expect. And, people are going to say, they didn't have Hysson playing, Trent Alexander-Arnold wasn't playing as well. But come on, you don't make errors of that level. And young Asensio at centre-back has made quite a few at this Club World Cup. So it'll be interesting to see where he figures for Xabi Alonso in the next few games and such as they move on in pre-season.
I should say, David, for those who haven't seen it, because not everybody's been tuning into the Club World Cup or maybe have taken advantage for the temporary free viewing that DAZN have provided us. As you said, Asensio's had a bit of a nightmare. He just essentially gives the ball away inside his own box to, was it Dembele, who then goes to round the goalkeeper, and it probably would have been a penalty, but Ruiz puts that to bed. And then Antonio Rudiger, an experienced defender, just absolutely shat the bed, and Dembele just bears down on him and grabs the ball the easy way and slots home. And it didn't really get any better. Real Madrid chasing the game 2-0 down after 9 minutes. We're never going to get back into it. Ruiz made it 3-0. They were so dominant. Ruiz, obviously, with his brace, was given, as it was on the coverage, superior player of the match, which I quite like, actually. I think that probably did describe his performance that well, because they were definitely superior. But, David, a word on Ousmane Dembele, who, a man we know his transfer history. I mean, obviously, Didn't start his career at Dortmund, but he got there, and then huge money for Barcelona. There was accusations that he wasn't the most professional when he played for Barcelona. Gaming late into the night, turning up late for training, racked up the fines. A lot of injuries as well, which you can't blame the player for. But didn't have the best of times there. Certainly to begin with, it maybe improved a little bit later. Goes to PSG. Mbappe's out the way. He's now being tipped for the Ballon d'Or. In fact, Kylian Mbappé said that he would vote for him. Would you go along with that as well? Because his transformation under Luis Enrique in this last couple of years, but particularly the season, has been extraordinary.
It's been absolutely phenomenal. It really has. The turnaround in his career, the turnaround in terms of how people view him. I think he was the butt of many jokes before when he was at Barcelona and such, but he has become a very, very serious player at PSG, and all credit to Luis Enrique for doing so, and saying, look, Kylian Mbappé is going to go. We're not going to get a big star immediately replace him. We want you to kind of play that centre forward / false nine type role. Okay, we're going to take you off the wing. And look, we want you to score goals, but we want you to aggressively press as well. And he's probably the most fearsome attacker in terms of his pressing right now. The way he has down on defenders, gives them no time on the ball, but then also pounces on any hesitation at all that he may sense, is remarkable. So I'd back Mbappe in this sense and say, yeah, he'd get my vote if I was also a player.
How crucial is he to Luis Enrique's system? Because you see what they've been doing, particularly in this Club World Cup. We saw them grow into the Champions League. I mean, it seems a long time ago now that they were beaten by Arsenal. And even, don't have to go back that far, it seems a long time ago that they were beaten on the night by Aston Villa, which, of course, wasn't enough to overturn the aggregate score. But it's quite clearly they go for an early onslaught, absolutely blitz teams early on. And crucially, it works. They get a goal or two, and they're ahead. And then to chase them is so, so difficult. Because they're such a unit, and it's so impressive. Because we're look how much football they've played, and they've played at a high octane level, right? And here they are doing exactly the same in the heat. They don't look like they're bothered by these conditions. They don't look bothered by the amount of games they've played.
No, not at all. They genuinely look fresh.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Dembele himself, who leads the line, if you like, vital to the system. I mean, it reminds me just a little bit when Samuel Eto'o played at Barcelona, when he was harassing defenders. He was leading the charge. And when you see them, if the midfielders see the striker doing that, strikers, I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit old-fashioned here, but maybe seems a bit lazy or whatever, but perhaps that's, maybe I'm talking about yesteryear. They see him putting that shift in and then dropping back in with them and soaking up the pressure. That filters through the side.
Yeah, they've got three starting forwards there in Kvaratskhelia, Doué and Dembele, who all press as a unit. And Luis Enrique has been very keen to make sure that everybody feels like part of the system, and it's not just where it used to be under Mbappe and then 10 more. Everybody does their job right now, and it encourages everybody. Look, if they're pressing from the front, the midfield can push up. If the opposing team gets around the attack, then the midfield are there to gobble it up, and the attackers fall back as well. And it's a brilliant understanding that they've got between each other.
They've got so much energy and dynamism all over the pitch that you would think that this team, that their enthusiasm and their desire to win, I mean, it would almost trump any kind of tiredness. I mean, I know that's not scientifically the case, but I basically what I'm saying is, sorry, Spurs, I don't think they're going to be tired for that Super Cup final, all right? If there was any hope, they're thinking, they've got all the way. And by the way, I don't think any Spurs fans are delusional at all about that. But you heard Pep saying about Man City that if we go all the way in this competition, it will impinge on our Premier League season. Now, I know the Premier League is more of a slog than for Man City than the Ligue 1 would be for PSG. I don't think it's a farmers' league, but come on, we know that they dominate that league. But this PSG side, they just look as though they can go and go and go. Incredibly impressive. But even those who come on, the substitutes, they make an impact as well. I mean, Gonzalo Ramos scored. He did a lovely Hal Robson-Kanu-esque type turn and finish, which was quite pleasing, I'm sure, to Wales fans. But where do you put this team currently? Obviously, it's not early days, but early days maybe for this kind of chat. We remember Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, who did they revolutionise or perhaps reinvent stuff or whatever whatever you want to say. Yeah, the influence they had from football, from top to bottom, grassroots all the way to elite level, is still being felt, and that was Guardiola. Luis Enrique, he's a different type of manager. He's been around for a long time. But in terms of the quality of the teams, are we looking at a PSG side now? And results will dictate, of course, if they can win another Champions League. I think we would be saying this. Are we putting them up there with Guardiola's Man City, Barcelona team, maybe even Luis Enrique's Barcelona team? Are they creeping towards that, do you think? That kind of 21st century football status in one of the best teams we've ever seen?
I mean, it is there for them to do so. I think right now there's still a lot to do. They need to win. They definitely need to repeat the Champions League. I think if they can get back-to-back Champions League, Liga, and again, with all respect, you'd look at it and you'd think, okay, they should win that. Absolutely.
Do you think that's maybe where people will go, because it's not La Liga or Serie A or the Premier League, people will go, it's solely judging them on the Champions League? Because they've been destroying the teams from La Liga and the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Anybody you put in front of them, they've had no trouble with. Look, it's still a 38-game season. The league is still there to be won. And we have seen in the past as well, other teams have won it. But looking at the future, definitely, it's a very, very young squad. Luis Enrique seems extremely hungry. We know if they do have an issue, they've got some money there to use to bring in somebody if they need to as well. There's a lot working in their favour. And what I'd also say is, you look across that team right now, as well as the age, I'd probably say aside from the centre-backs, you've got players who are top 5 in the world in their positions. So we're talking about Hakimi and Nuno Mendes at fullback, Donnarumma, one of the world's top goalkeepers. The midfielders, I'm not too sure I've seen a better midfielder than Vitinha in the past few years. You've got Vitinha, João Neves, very young lad coming on as well. And then you've got Barcola, Doué, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia as well. These are all pretty young guys still. And some of the best wingers, some of the best attackers around right now. It's remarkable how they are now and how they could be in the future as well.
Yeah, totally. And it's all really happened since Kylian Mbappé left PSG. I mean, this was billed as sort of, Kylian Mbappé at the centre of it. But again, due to the way the game panned out, PSG completely put that to bed early on. Now, with Mbappé, he left PSG last summer. Real Madrid finished second in La Liga to a very good Barcelona side who boast one of the players who would be after a Ballon d'Or himself in Lamine Yamal, of course. But they lost the final of the Copa del Rey. They lost to Arsenal in the Champions League pretty handedly. I mean, that was... They got bossed by Arsenal, let's be clear. They've now just been hammered by PSG in a tournament where Florentino Perez encourages players to treat this like the Champions League. And let's be honest, Real Madrid wanted this. Yeah. You could argue, well, I don't say more than any other side, but certainly the powers that be were, as I've just mentioned there, very, very forthright in what they wanted to do in this trophy, which was, of course, win it. So has Xabi Alonso got a bigger job on his hands than perhaps many thought? Because he takes over a squad with some great individual talent, but as a team, he's got to make it gel.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and we mentioned Mbappe. He showed tonight, I think, why PSG got rid of him. He was non-existent in terms of pressing, in terms of contributing to the team. Vinny Jr. was exactly the same as well. And therefore, you remove the individual. Xabi Alonso has got a big job on his hands to get a system working where everyone is in it together and two guys out of the starting 11 aren't just chilling while the rest of the team does all the running. and that's what it looks like right now. And people were concerned about this when Mbappe was signed. And it has been apparent, often that he doesn't track back, and neither does Vinny. And I don't believe in this this notion that sometimes some players are too good to not track back or anything like that. Okay, if you've got Ronaldo and Messi, I'm talking, greatest players of all time here. Fair enough, maybe, but Mbappe is nowhere near that status. So in Vinny isn't either. Those two have got to change a lot about their games if Xabi Alonso is to be a success at Real Madrid.
Yeah, and what made Real Madrid so successful in recent years, particularly in the Champions League, was a number of things. But having a younger Luka Modric in there was one reason. Of course, he's 39 now. I mean, it was incredible that he came on after an hour in what was his last appearance for Real Madrid. And at the same time, PSG brought on two 19-year-olds in Zeni Mayulu and Warren Zaire-Emery. And I don't think either of them would have been at all perturbed by Luka Modric coming on, which shows you, again, the confidence they have and how down on their hunches Real Madrid were. No disrespect to Luka Modric, of course, one of the best players we've seen certainly in the 21st century. But another player who Real Madrid have been missing is Toni Kroos. And interestingly, because he retired last summer, in an interview this week, he said, "I'm not going back, and Real Madrid knows it." It's funny that he had to state that, but anyway, he said they're missing a player like me and are still searching. The problem is that there aren't many like me, and the ones out there are hard to sign. It's an interesting point of view. I would call it arrogant, but I don't think it is. I think it's spot on.
It's absolutely on the money, and it was something that was brought up regularly last season. Since Toni Kroos is gone, they are just missing that recycler of possession that they need. Somebody who can just come in, put a foot on the ball, and change the tempo, whether it be to slow a game down or just to speed it up and just to open up the field a bit more. They've missed Toni Kroos considerably so, and they are going to miss Luka Modric as well, because not only are there, not many players out there to potentially replace them, there's just not the players at Real Madrid, I don't think. That skill set just isn't there. They've got some brilliant midfielders. They've got some really, really have. But nothing like those two. Very, very unique what they did. And, that along with Casemiro, formed probably one of the greatest midfields we've seen.
Yeah. They could do with an Adam Morton, I'm telling you.
Yes, yeah. Don't give them ideas, Marcus.
Don't. If we want to see Wharton playing for England, let's put him in a midfield with Jude Bellingham. It just might encourage Tuchel. That's all I'm saying. Maybe Xabi Alonso could become player manager. He may well need to if the midfield is going to be destroyed like that. Look, it will be intriguing to see what Real Madrid do next season and what they're going to do in the transfer market, because you would imagine after that performance Perez may think, whoa, okay, we need to get some reinforcements here. It wouldn't be surprising if they tried to sign Vitinha or something like that. But we shall see. But PSG kind of march on to the final, where they will face Chelsea, of course. Early in the tournament, I thought that Chelsea might win this. It just felt like something that would and could happen. After seeing the performance against Real Madrid, I have doubts for that prediction. Well, I'd be interested, before I say anything else, I'd be interested in what you make, because how do Chelsea try and stop this side?
I don't think they'll come out in the manner that Real Madrid did, which was a bit, naive, shall we say?
Give the ball to João Pedro and just tell him to shoot on sight, presumably. Precisely.
They're going to have to get around the chief problem that teams encounter when they face PSG, and that's being able to play out the back. Yes. If you can't play out the back against PSG, they will murder you. That's just what they do. Mm-hmm. They will swarm you. They will create chances, and they might create about 9 or 10 chances. They'll take 3 or 4 of them, and they'll just put you to the sword. They're ruthless like that, and that's what Chelsea's got to be aware of. But like I say, I think Chelsea might actually sit in a bit deeper, and try and soak up a bit of pressure, and then look to break on them. So I don't think they'll get as much space against Chelsea as they have done against Real Madrid. But that being said, I'll be interested to see how Chelsea do create chances, and it might be that João Pedro needs those shooting boots on again for some pot shots.
Yeah, although I'd love to see an old-fashioned English striker performance from Liam Delap. Get the ball up there. Get him, stick that arse into those defenders. Turn them, roll them. Come on, that's what I want to see. I'm going to stick with my prediction. I think Chelsea are going to bloody do it. There you go. You got that on tape.